Hello and welcome back to FrogClan. Today we are picking up where we left off. Unfortunately, we are doing things a little bit differently right now though, because I recorded this entire episode and then realized that my microphone was turned off the entire time. So this is actually editing Frosty, doing a voiceover now. So there's gonna be some things that aren't perfectly lined up or in sync. I apologize for that. So we'll just take this as it goes. But we have quite a few cats still from last time, and we had an insane rush of luck last go, so we are hoping to keep that up this episode as well. Okay, so for our first time skip here, Whitepaw decides to become a medicine cat apprentice in hopes that they will be able to see Gentle in StarClan. Whitepaw was given cardinal feathers as congratulations. Whimsy Shade watches from the side with a jealous glint in their eyes. I think here I was mentioning that Whitepaw becoming a medicine cat apprentice is something I'm going to need to check in on, just because we can only have cats that actually have mutations becoming medicine cats. But Seagull Kit has always wished to be the hero of their clan, a warrior admired by all. Hair Shadow hopes while Seagull Paw touches noses with them, they are going to stay wary of the dangers of their territory and not endanger themselves. Another note I wanted to make here, and I think I was saying it here, is that I've never seen this before, and I think it's really cool that they're adding in more apprentice ceremony possibilities. It just gives the characters a lot more life. Unfortunately though, Barnacle Kit has died of a claw wound. I mentioned here I felt like somebody was missing, and it seems that Barnacle Kit did not make it. On better news though, Tiny Slash announced that they are expecting kits. They won't be moving into the nursery just yet though. White Kit feels sick to their stomach. The last time they saw Barnacle Kit, they quarreled with them, and now all White Kit can do is beg for forgiveness and hope that Barnacle Kit is watching from StarClan. Things are never going to be the same now. Could never be the same. White Kit doesn't understand how life is supposed to just go on without Barnacle Kit. They refuse to accept it. Seagull Kit's voice wavers as they talk about their sibling, trying to get through the tale and return to grieving over Barnacle Kit's body. But they want Barnacle Kit's vigil to be good to show that they were loved. Seagull Kit trembles, tearing at their nest, unable to sleep as they brood over Barnacle Kit's last moments. Did they suffer? Were they scared? Seagull Kit can't shake the crushing guilt. I mentioned here as well that it felt like there was a lot of guilt or remorse between Seagull Kit and White Kit because they were arguing with Barnacle Kit right before they passed. And a claw wound isn't something that we'd expect a kit to pass away from, so it's very possible that Barnacle Kit was exacerbating their injuries somehow and it led to complications later. And then of course we have Barnacle Kit taking their place in StarClan while FrogClan mourns their loss and moments of their lives are shared. Hair Shadow finally feels back to normal after the strain of birthing a litter. Skysock healed from their bite wound but will be forever marked by a scar. Jellyfish Wave has recovered from their sprain. Hyacinth Petal has gotten a running nose. Scratchpaw has gotten a running nose. Barnacle Kit died from a claw wound, of course. Snakefur no longer has white cough, and Gardenia Sun's wound is no longer infected. I did mention as well, it's really good for us because Skysock got a scar, which means another mutation. And then Whitepaw is given cardinal feathers as congratulation, and Tiny Slash realized that She-Cat isn't how they feel anymore. So Snipstar is still hurt right now. She is wondering if kitty pet life is really so bad. So here we have Fleetleaf, who is ignoring the low herb socks, instead practicing their battle moves. So Fleetleaf is, I'm thinking at this point, taking after Bright Torrent, who switched over to becoming a warrior after medicine cat duties didn't really work out. So I was saying here that we could maybe see about switching around medicine cats since we have quite a few cats and maybe make Fleetleaf a warrior. So here's Whitepaw, chastised yesterday for sticking their head in an unknown burrow. She is a normal cat, so she can't stay a medicine cat. She is an adolescent female with the white agouti pelt, of course, and she grew to be daring and quick to help. We're switching her over to being a warrior, and it looks like her new mentor is going to be Whimsy Shade. And that's what she looks like healthy with the cardinal feathers in there too. So here's Tiny Slash. He now identifies as a trans male, and of course, he is a normal cat. We are going to be seeing what his kits look like in a couple of moons, though. So here we have Skystalk, who already has quite a few traits, including tattered ears, venomous teeth, an aquatic tail, and thumb paws. So we're just going to roll and see what other traits she ends up with the new scar. So the trait I actually rolled was a glider body, which leaves actually very few things that don't have mutation on them. So I was thinking here that we really need to see if she's compatible with anybody, so we can maybe pass on some of those good traits to some kits too. Here's Frozen Paw, now 12 moons old and looking a little bit more grown up. He is charismatic, quick to help, and an avid play fighter for right now. Here's Seagull Paw, daring and quick to make peace, which is pretty similar to White Paw's daring and quick to help. He is also a normal cat, that's what he looks like, healthy. I was considering if he had been a cat with mutations, actually switching over Seagull Paw and White Paw to kind of give them that same arc to see if they were compatible for medicine cats and kind of keep that same line, but we don't really have the option since they're both normal cats anyway. Here I was just going through cats' relationship values and seeing who all is having relationships with each other. It could be good mates for one another. I ultimately made Brighttorrent, Jirachi Lightning, and Snipstar a throuple because they had quite a bit of like for one another, and I felt that they could all be kind of good together. I did also make Skystalk and Hyacinth Petal mates. They have a compatible nature, they had some romantic like for one another already. They have compatible mutations as well, so Hyacinth Petal has multiple good mutations. Any kits they have are pretty much guaranteed to have something now. So that's just showcasing where that got us there. I was also debating making Lagoon Feather and Jellyfish Wave mates as well. They're compatible, they've got similar natures, there's a little bit of distrust there though, so I go to mediate them, just to try and build up a solid foundation in case they do become mates. And I'm selecting the wrong cats, of course. But ultimately it does fail, which worsens it, so no luck there. I don't make anything of them this time. And then just going through patrols, Stinkfern gathers some cobwebs, Fleetleaf gathers some dandelion, and Curldawn manages to gather some oak leaves. Frozen Paw and Jirachi Lightning sit down. Jirachi Lightning does manage to get Frozen Paw to open up a little bit and become a little bit less wooden in the way that they act. Dust Apple takes Evening Paw out, and it sounds like Evening Paw actually had a vision. Dust Apple sits them down, identifies it as such, and states that, well, it's rare, it's not a bad thing. Those connected to StarClan in such a way are rare and have been critical for protecting our clan in the past. They certainly have been that. Stinky Laurel, I still love that name, takes Scratchpaw out for some hunting practice, but doesn't step up to teach. Our patrol comes across a WormClan apprentice waiting quietly at the border. When the apprentice notices us, they press themselves to the ground, begging to join FrogClan. Of course, we're going to go ahead and proceed here. Brighttorrent is eager to steal a WormClan's apprentice right out from under their noses. They sit close to the apprentice on the way back to camp. At first, the clan is unsure, but Brighttorrent vouches for Gorespaw, and they are allowed to join the clan. This worsens our relationships with WormClan, but Gorespaw has joined the clan. And of course, we know that cats don't usually come from other clans without some kind of mutations, so they most likely have a mutation. We'll go ahead and check out Gorespaw though. It turns out that she is an adolescent female, silver eyes, a gray Sakoki pelt. She is compassionate and confident with words, and is pretty young at 7 moons old. I did notice as well that Gorespaw's mentor was Tiny Slash. Tiny Slash is of course a bloodthirsty cat, and Gorespaw is a compassionate apprentice, so I wanted to switch Gorespaw over to a different mentor who could encourage that compassion, instead of encouraging the opposite like Tiny Slash. Tiny Slash is also of course pregnant and is going to be down for the majority of Gorespaw's apprenticeship anyway. I do ultimately end up going with World Apple, who I think has a pretty good nature to go along with Gorsepaw with clever and swimming. She doesn't have a lot of experience as a mentor, but I think she'll do okay anyway. As our patrol is checking the border lines, we notice a Fringe Clan sent us straight into the territory. We'll go ahead and proceed. Tiny Slash can't contain their annoyance at the trespass. When our patrol finds a lost Fringe Clan apprentice to be the source of the scent, Tiny Slash reprimands them heavily. The apprentice is nearly in tears when Tiny Slash finally lets him go, and the patrol leads them to the border line, tension thick in the air. This is actually the first time I've seen this kind of interaction go this way, and it really just reminds me of when Tiger Claw found Scourge out in the forest. Our last patrol just sees a badger making a den on another clan's territory, but ultimately we wait and don't see them, so nothing much happens there. Moving on to Moon 129, snips our sands about the clan and proclaims that Frozen Paw should now be known as Frozen Stem, honoring their loyalty. Tiny Slash is unsure of how many kits they'll have. They don't believe they can efficiently perform their duties while expecting and decide to move into the nursery. Jirachi Lightning is free of fleas at last. Webstem misstep and slip from a rock, spraining their paw. And Dust Apple has gotten yellow cough. We also know some elderlies have gone bad and will have to be replaced. With not much going on with the other cats, we'll jump straight to Frozen Stem, who turned out to be loyal, a good fighter, and a great teacher. He is determined to protect his loved ones, now more so than ever. They are mentored by Jirachi Lightning, who influenced them to be more likely to heed their inner compass and think things through. Jirachi Lightning helped them become better at teaching and fighting. When they graduated, they were honored for their loyalty at 13 moons old. Loyalty is definitely a trait that Jirachi Lightning passed on. This is also about when I realized I never rolled for Gorsepaw, so I rolled and she actually came with multiple traits, being large ears, fanged teeth, and a prehensile tail. We are definitely not going to complain about this, but about here I think I'm getting a little bit leery about how good of luck we've been having lately. So we send World Apple and Gorsepaw out on patrol, but neither cat sets up to teach, returning to camp feeling a little bit irritated. I was starting to get a little bit leery about my choice of World Apple here. But we send out Scratchpaw and Stinky Laurel next, and they have a much better time, Scratchpaw soaking up all of Stinky Laurel's best tips and tricks. I send Evening Paw out with Bright Torrent since Dust Apple is sick, and Bright Torrent, per her sort of training tactics, decides to go for a fighting round. Bright Torrent takes charge and coordinates exercises for the duo. They practice how to weave around an opponent, feeling more confident in their teamwork by the end. Snakefern gathers some wild garlic. Fleetleaf gathers some moss, and Curldawn ultimately does not able to make a connection with StarClan. Our patrol hears the cat begging for their housefolk to come back, just barely legible over the sound of a monster speeding away. Of course, we're gonna proceed. Skysock finds a K-Peg collapsed by the Thunderpath, wailing for their housefolk. Skysock comforts them, asking why they were left here. The only explanation they can think is that perhaps they're sick and too much of a burden. Of course, we invite them back to camp, and they tentatively come along with. Furby has joined our clan, and our reputation towards outsiders has improved. So I'm saying here that I really hope Furby is not as terrifying as the actual counterpart. And this actually ends up being Furby. She's an adult female with emerald eyes and a classic gray-white pelt. She has a pretty crimson bow collar, is a little bit older at 92 moons, but she's careful and an impressive climber. She ultimately has yellow cough, that's why her two legs kicked her out, and she came to our clan after fleeing from their cruel two-leg that threw them out for yellow cough. This is what Furby looks like healthy, so she is a very gorgeous cat. Really looking now, it's kind of Christmassy, isn't she? After a bit of generating, I go ahead and we name her Furby Shine. I go ahead and generate also her traits, and she actually really lucks out and gets 3 as well. What isn't as lucky, however, is that she comes in with a seal nose, deaf ears, and tiny paws. So it's not all fully positives there. We do get one always permanent drawback. It could still be a whole lot worse than that though. I decide to go ahead and send out a smaller patrol, probably unwisely, just to get everybody a little bit more experience on borders. We run into BogClan, and luckily we just have a nice conversation about the weather before we continue on our patrol. It turns out there may have been a reason for the conversation though. When our last patrol encounters dark clouds on the horizon, Hair Shadow is our patrol leader and she does have some passes though, so I go ahead and use that. I'm pretty much never going to proceed on that whenever I have the choice not to. It's just way too dangerous. Moving into Moon 130 though, whenever someone asks whether Tiny Slash will be alright raising their single kitten alone, they just smile and reply that everything is going to work out fine. There seems to be an infection growing in Snipstar's broken bone. Fleetleaf brings Maple Dawn into the medicine cat den and starts searching. The sick stink of infection is coming from them, but Maple Dawn hasn't noticed anything that could cause it. So we have 2 of my favorite cats now down with infectious wounds. That is not good. Pumpkin Kit snuck out of camp and returned a bit bruised, but brimming with pride despite the scolding they were given. Gardenia-san healed from their broken jaw, but will be forever marked by a scar. Good for us, because that's another mutation. Whenever someone asks whether Tiny Slash will be alright raising their kin alone, okay, we already saw that. Caseback tossed a snake out of camp before it could bite someone. We will definitely not say no to that. Caseback, despite their childish nature, really seems to be proving themselves a good protector of the clan. So here is Fuzzy Kit, who is Tiny Slash's little single daughter. She is a she, with amber eyes and a single color, light, kind of mousy pelt, long fur, and secure. And I actually like Mouse for her so much I go ahead and rename her from Fuzzy to Mouse. I usually shy away from the rodent names, so Mouse, Vole, Shrew. I just usually don't find them very fitting, but for this little girl, I can see that being a very good name for her. And of course, because Tiny Slash had an outsider for her mate, we are going to go ahead and roll to see what Mouse Kit gets, if anything, from both of her parents. So because my luck has been phenomenal, I actually roll for Mouse Kit's father to have slit eyes and a thick ruff. So she has a 50-50 shot of inheriting either one of those because Tiny Slash is just a normal cat, which is definitely still better than most odds are for this. I go ahead and roll, we end up losing the slit eyes but keeping the thick ruff, and she doesn't get any random mutations either, but again, off of a normal cat, this is still way better than I would have expected, and crazy luck. I actually noticed here that Bright Torrent seems to have improved in her teaching skills. She is now an excellent teacher, and to kind of go along with that, she is devising an effective teaching strategy for new skills. I'm not again sure what actually allows for that level up to happen, so to speak, but it's really interesting to see nonetheless. So here's poor sick Maple Dawn, currently in the medicine cat den. Her paralyzed condition is currently infected. She is grateful to Snakefern for her treatment though. The thing I'm talking about here is just I'm wondering if the ClanGen generator actually counts for paralyzed cats to have a higher chance of infection and dying young. Just like in the books, I'm really hoping that that's not the case because I really like Maple Dawn and I really want to see her succeed. But I don't have any hopes of her living a very long life if that is the case. I did notice a lot of cats this moon had a lot of wondered about conditions, so a lot of cats were kind of looking after one another. We're into Leaf Bear right now, so that's not necessarily the most surprising thing. And here we see Gardenia-san with a little scar on her cheek now from her broken jaw. Not letting it get her down though, she's playfully cracking jokes. But we do get to roll for another mutation. I'm just debating to see if there's like a correlation I want to do on where to put it, but given location, I'm just gonna randomly roll and see what we end up getting for her. And lucky Gardenia-san actually ends up with a muscular body. So really not bad. Again, our luck has been kind of insane for scars and just rolling for cats this moon. I thought this was funny. Hyacinth Petal was found to be faking a bellyache, earning a stern lecture. I did notice that he was sick, so I thought it was funny if he did end up having a stomachache and just no one believed him, but he just has a running nose. There's nothing much else interesting going on, so I sent out Snakefern to go gather some herbs, and we actually come across a prompt for weird sounds and whispers on the wind. Naturally, of course, we're going to proceed here. Snakefern, sure that's a sign of StarClan, follows a faint wailing. Instead, they find a queen who lost her life in a harsh kidding, their newborn kits clinging to a body that will never move again. Snakefern instantly wraps himself around the kits and starts thinking about what they'll need to do to move them to camp. Missile Ice's ghost now wanders. Conifer Kit and Scale Kit have joined the clan, however. Now our relationships with outsiders has improved. So we're going to go ahead and check out Missile Ice first. And Missile Ice actually ends up being a very pretty cat. A senior adult male with pale green eyes and a Bengal pelt, kind of silver in nature. Bloodthirsty and a prophecy interpreter. So not sure whether I'm happy or sad that Missile Ice didn't quite make it, but he was a very gorgeous cat. As for his kits, we have Conifer Kit, a newborn female with pale green eyes and a Bengal pelt as well, so she'll probably be the spitting image of her father there. Her young self is impulsive, currently snuggled safe in the nursery. Then we have Scale Kit, a newborn male with pale green eyes, a masked pelt, and a long fur length. He is quiet. I decided to do something a little different for his kit, so rather than roll for Missile Ice and the Missile Ice's mate to see what they would have ended up with, I roll straight for the kits, and Conifer Kit actually ends up with a 5, and Scale Kit ends up with a 6, meaning Conifer Kit is going to get 1 mutation, whereas Scale Kit is going to get multiple. So here I'm just rolling to see what each kit actually ends up with getting. And I decide that I'm basically going to roll for Scale Kit first, and then roll to see which of Scale Kit's traits Conifer Kit ends up getting. Because Scale Kit has more, I want them to share a trait to kind of imply relatedness there. I just thought that that would be a little bit of a different way to go about it. I wanted to try and see if that was a bit more effective. Had they both come in as normal cats, it probably would have been just fine. But as it was a little convoluted. I'm not super sure if I liked it or not. Scale Kit did end up getting an attractive head, slit eyes, and a glider body. Of those 3, Conifer Kit ended up getting the slit eyes. Even so, our luck is insane. Fleetleaf just can't make sense of a vision, so nothing exciting there. Curldawn goes out and gathers some raspberry on Raccoon Clan's side of the border, improving relationships with them and gathering some herbs. For our first training mission, Scratchpaw and Sneaky Laurel just go out and look at some octopi in the tide pools. Prytorrent once again takes out Evening Paw for Dust Apple, and they once again have another fighting training session. Prytorrent compliments Evening Paw's ability, and they come back fluffed up with pride. World Apple takes out Gore's-Paw, and this time they actually have a good hunting session, with Gore's-Paw soaking up all World Apple's tips and tricks. Our first border patrol finds a kitty pet who's interested in joining our clan. They banter with the cat a bit, making them feel more welcome. We don't have to do much convincing. The kitty pet seems happy to join, and Lionel has joined the clan. I know, like, this luck has been absolutely insane this past couple of episodes. But here's Lionel. She is looking around the camp with wonder. She's an adult female with emerald eyes and a classic black and gray pelt. She has a really pretty cyan bow collar. She's grumpy, a masterful storyteller, and a good mediator. So, just given her traits, I can actually see her becoming a mediator at some point. I was debating whether or not I wanted to switch her over at all, but ultimately I decided to keep her as a warrior, at least for right now. So we're gonna go ahead, roll to see what she has, and also give her a suffix for her name. I end up generating Fern, and I think that's appropriate enough because she does have kind of a coolness about her. Our luck does finally run out, however. She is a normal cat. Given our current run though, that's really not too bad. While on patrol, Winty Shade notices some suspicious paw prints in the wet sand on the beach. We'll go ahead and patrol here. So it does end up being a rogue who is intimidated by our confidence and number of cats, and we send them away. Our last patrol gets the same prompt, but it is not as graceful as it turns out to be Lagoon Feather's own paw prints. And this is where I decided to leave off the episode. There are a couple of other things I noticed here or there that I know I commentated on during the initial recording, but I just couldn't really identify through the entire footage coming back through for voiceover. So I understand this is probably going to be a little bit shorter, maybe a bit more cobbled together. I appreciate everybody's patience on that though. When this is coming out, it's going to be Black Friday, so if you're going out on sale, stay safe. It can be a little bit crazy out there, especially depending on where you end up going, so just be smart about it. Otherwise, I do hope that you all enjoy your Thanksgiving break. I know I will be. So, we'll all come back a little bit more refreshed on Monday anyway. Until next time though, stay safe and happy. I will see you all then, and bye!